Sebastian Vettel, four-time Formula One world champion, no longer driving a car, but commanding the future of the sport as president of the FIA? Well, this idea, which seemed absurd just a few years ago, is now circulating with increasing force behind the scenes of the sport. And it's not a conspiracy theory. No. Vettel himself was asked directly about it during the British Grand Prix weekend, and his answer left the door opened at half-open end when Ross Brawn, one of F1's most influential minds, publicly says Vettel would be the ideal candidate to lead the organization. It's impossible to ignore what's happening behind the scenes. In this video, you'll understand exactly what's being discussed, what Vettel said, what he didn't say, and why this matters so much now, in 2025, with the FIA going through a turbulent time, beset by scandals, resignations, and a decisive election scheduled for December. So stay until the end of the video, like it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more Formula One news. It all started with a direct question posed to Vettel during the British Grand Prix. Would you consider being the next FIA president? The answer, full of sincerity and caution, resonated strongly. In an interview with Automotor UND Sport, Vettel admitted that he does not have extensive knowledge of the responsibilities that the position requires, clearly stating, "I still don't know enough about the responsibilities of the FIA president. From an F1 perspective, you only see part of the job. I have an idea about it, but not enough to make a good judgment about the task." He highlighted that his focus, until now, has been restricted to the scope of Formula One, and that managing a global entity is very different. Vettel's cautious stance resonates especially now, given the current FIA landscape. The presidency of Mohammed Ben Sulayem, which began in December 2021, is about to face a tough competition as Tim Mayer, a former FIA inspector and son of McLaren's co-founder, has launched his candidacy. Mayer, who was fired by Sulayem in 2024, accuses the organization of acting authoritarianly and describes the internal climate as a reign of terror. And how did Vettel get into this? The voice of Ross Brawn, former F1 boss and one of the most influential figures in motorsport, went on to echo. He once mentioned Vettel as an ideal name to lead the FIA in the future. As a result, the name of Vettel, four-time world champion and respected figure, soon began to be associated with this change of direction, even if it is only speculation so far. First, because it involves an unusual character for the role, a former driver, activist, and advocate for environmental, social, and ethical causes. In 2022, Vettel regretted not having been more vocal throughout his career on issues like equality and the environment, a profile that aligns well with what many expect from a modern, transparent leader. Second, the December 2025 election will be decisive. Ben Sulayem is seeking a second term, while Mayer is actively campaigning among FIA members, including national federations, emphasizing governance, mobility, and sportsmanship. If Vettel decided to enter the race, even informally, it would change the narrative completely. These statements reveal three central aspects. Intellectual humility. Vettel clearly defines his current knowledge. He doesn't minimize his position and states that to give a responsible opinion, he would need to know much more than just F1. Professional self-reflection. He discusses the decision through professional logic. It's unprofessional to say something I don't know yet. It's a powerful message about credibility, signaling to the public that he's not saying anything for press or buzz, but with post-career seriousness. And political prudence. Vettel chooses to ignore speculation and focus on what's actually true. He avoids closing doors, saying that he might, in another context, consider it, but that now, without support, he can't. He cited Ross Brawn as someone who truly understands the demands of the position, reinforcing that he has the right reference point for this judgment. Therefore, what many call an open door is actually an articulated strategy of careful self-validation. Vettel isn't saying, "Yes, I'll do it," or "No, never." He's simply stating a truth, has no basis to give an opinion on something he doesn't know about, and that, in politics, is a declaration, not a retreat. The consequences are immediate. The audience understands that. He knows his limits, and that, in the world of Formula One, can be considered a rare virtue that he is not using the topic as a media ploy. He is being sincere, leaving aside any overly dramatic narrative that he may think about it in the future, because Vettel didn't close that possibility. He kept the door ajar. And that's precisely the narrative that will keep us glued to the end. Before I continue, please like and subscribe to the channel so the YouTube algorithm recommends this video. And let's get started. As simple as the words may seem, their impact is magnified when compared with the current political climate at the FIA. After all, while Tim Mayer accuses current President Ben Sulayem of waging a reign of terror, the four-time champion uses transparency as ammunition. I don't know enough for that right now. In a scenario where figures create polarizing narratives, Vettel offers a calm and reasoned response. Furthermore, this speech gained additional weight by coming immediately after Ross Brawn, former F1 boss, had suggested his name as ideal for the presidency. And Vettel himself maintaining a diplomatic, but clear, distance strengthens the hypothesis that he could be a consensus candidate, neither radical nor decrepit, but thoughtful, respected, and informed. Another equally important detail, Vettel took the opportunity to mention his post-F1 future. He signaled that he sees possibilities like a WEC or Le Mans campaign, and emphasized that he has been in talks with Helmut Marko about an advisory role at Red Bull. This move suggests he is still defining where he wants to work, whether within automotive policy or in the sports paddock. He also highlighted his interest in mentoring young pilots, saying that, more than technique, it is the mental aspects that can transform talents into champions. This paints a strong leadership profile, and this very characteristic matches the profile that many associate with a modern FIA president. After retiring in 2022, Vettel stood out not only for his statements, but mainly for his practical actions. In July 2025, he participated in an environmental project in the Amazon with Greenpeace, visiting indigenous villages and denouncing deforestation and illegal mining. It was like entering hell, he said. In mid-2025, he expressed the only regret of his career, not having been even more vocal about equality, climate, and social justice. He has raised funds and built a bee hotel in Suzuka, been seen collecting trash at Silverstone, visited recycling stations, and advocated for renewable energy. This shows activism pragmatic and grounded, the type of profile capable of translating discourse into tangible projects. The FIA presidency does not only require technical knowledge. It is necessary to dialogue with 245 federations from 149 countries, being responsible for mobility, safety, and access to the competition. Vettel has been successively expanding his reach. In May 2022, he participated in the British program Question Time, debating climate crisis and inequality, integrated social and educational projects in several regions, including schools in the United Kingdom, initiatives in Japan, and projects in Germany. This international experience shows that he already understands transitions between cultural, social, and political spheres. Ben Sulayem. Since December 2021, the FIA has been undergoing a profound internal restructuring. In April 2025, Robert Reid, then Vice President of Sport at the FIA, publicly resigned, pointing to a fundamental breakdown of governance standards and denouncing that crucial decisions were being made in secret, without going through formal processes or participation of member clubs. He stressed that he took office to serve the FIA, not the government, and that the organization needs to return to being a member-driven organization, not one driven by executive whims. Since 2024, several influential figures have been dismissed or resigned amid internal tensions. 2 members of the audit committee were fired after questioning the creation of a $1.5 million fund suggested by Sulayem for electoral clubs, precisely those that vote in the FIA presidential election. Tim Mayer, a 15-year veteran commissioner, was also removed and criticized internal turnover and the increasing centralization of power. Other key members, such as Natalie Robin, former CEO, Tim Goss, Steve Nielsen, and Deborah Mayer, have left the FIA amid what many consider a spiral of internal purges. These moves were seen as an attempt to silence institutional dissent and maintain a power base loyal to the presidency. In June 2025, the FIA approved by a large majority, more than 80%, changes to the statutes that strengthen the president's control over key committees such as audit and ethics, and limit the investigative autonomy of these bodies. The changes include: the Ethics Committee has been reduced to its initial filter role, but the president or the Senate president can decide on any investigation. The audit committee can only act at the request of the Senate president, eliminating its independence. Candidacy eligibility may be barred on vague grounds of professional integrity, making it easier to disqualify rivals, such as Carlos Sainz Sr. Even on the Formula One grid, signs of dissatisfaction are emerging. After his punishment in Jeddah, Max Verstappen expressed a veiled criticism of the new rules that punish speeches against the FIA, stating that it is better not to speak, so as not to be penalized. He and other drivers said they felt silenced and denounced a lack of transparency in the use of fines, issues aggravated by the context of the FIA's troubled internal governance. Mohammed Ben Sulayem leads an FIA that reveals record profits in 2024, €4.7 million, reversing a €24 million deficit in 2021. However, the political price of this financial recovery has been high. Increased institutional control, suspension of independent commissions, prohibition of critical voices, reforms used to consolidate power before re-election in December 2025. With this scenario, the December election, in which Sulayem seeks re-election and Tim Mayer already presents itself as the main opponent, takes on dramatic contours. If Sebastian Vettel, if he decided to enter this dispute, even if only as a symbolic figure of institutional opposition, he would be seen not only as an alternative, but as an antithesis to this model. But tell me, what did you think of this video? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion. Like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing.